Joining us now on the Hot Tag WrestleCast is an individual with such an infectious and upbeat personality and an extreme passion for pro wrestling. And when we're talking about the Mount Rushmore of indie pro wrestling in the OHIO, his grizzled mug would be right up there on the monument. And with 2 decades of promotion under his resume, and he is Mr. Thomas Big Time Williams to the Hot Tag, sir.
How you doing, sir?
Absolutely tremendous. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day. The road warrior of war, out on the road, taking care of the family in this time of need. I have to tell you, Big Tom, we do our research. We're very diligent about that when we're getting ready for an interview or anything that we're approaching here on the Hot Tag. I reached out to probably half a dozen of your colleagues and talents that have worked with you, and to a T, the respect and admiration shown towards you was simply incredible. Just speaks volumes to what you mean to this business. Personally speaking, we were both recently involved in helping bring together a Battle on the Border event. Shout out to our good friend Denham Blevins. While we're there, long before the doors are open to the public and all that, we're there tirelessly slaving away. My schmuck ass is setting up the seating area. You come in and you start working with a very inexperienced ring crew, and you begin showing them the ins and outs and giving them all these tips. The knowledge that was being shared, it just blew me away. I got so lost and distracted from what I was doing just listening to you. I guess to start off here, what does it mean, teaching and sharing the gift of pro wrestling? What's that mean to you?
Well, I think it's taken me a long time. I mean, like I said, I was just actually thinking about this on the way up here. In June, I'll be doing this for 23 years. So theoretically, I'm in professional wrestling longer than the majority of that ring crew has been alive. And, the biggest thing for me is Al Snow told me one thing many, many years ago. He said, if you keep to you, then the business is slowly going to die. And I hold that to my heart, And above all that, going honestly, isn't set up right. That's my big thing is that ring needed set up, and you got to lead by example. They needed some guidance, and I'm there early enough to help. So, why not help? I guess I'm the not typical veteran, I guess you could say. A lot of the veteran wrestlers and promoters and that sort of thing, they say they got this analogy that you've paid your dues. And, once you reach a certain amount of years in professional wrestling, it's like, oh, you don't have to do it no more. And to me, I'm not that type of person. I'm an in your face. Let's get it done. Let's make sure, the ring is safe, make sure the seats are good, and that's just me. I lead by example, even when we do the war wrestling shows, I'm the boss, quote unquote, and I got 1,000,001 things to do. But guess what? I still am part of the ring crew. I still load the ring, I still set up the ring, I still do the guardrails, I still do all those sort of things or whatever, because guess what? Without the ring and the seating and the guardrails and all that, there is no show. So, that's the big thing with me.
You had mentioned there, the name drop in there. You bring up Mr. Snow. You've been in this business 20 plus years. I wanted to, let's dial up Mr. Peabody and hop in that Wayback Machine, to go back to those beginnings before war, before you get into being a promoter. I regularly talk about how Ohio is that true hotbed for professional wrestling, and right there's such a rich history in the territory of Lima, Ohio. And going back before you kind of took those reins, of course, that's in the hands of Al Snow, who now is the owner of OVW. What can you tell us about those early days and that involvement that you had?
Well, I think to be honest with you, Al, when I first broke in, training and all that, he had Body Slammers Wrestling Gym, and it was up on the 5th floor of the Masonic Temple in downtown Lima. And, there was a lot of people that went through there. People don't realize, you had a Chris Benoit came through and wrestled there. You had, Sabu, you had Dan Severn, you had all these guys, that, they were there. And, I took to heart what Al taught me, and guys like Crusher Klein and guys like that were there, helped teaching then. People don't realize, Lima, Ohio's always had a rich history in professional wrestling. Going all the way back. We ran in what they call the UAW hall, and I got some newspaper clippings that was from like the 40s and the 50s. 30s, 40s, and 50s of professional wrestling going on in that town. We had a building called the Pan Rec Arena. It was an ice hockey arena. They had professional wrestling there. And to be totally honest with you, I tell people this all the time. As far as me being a promoter, I tell people, even after 22 years, Al Snow is still my mentor. So if I don't conduct myself in the right manner and I'm just a douchebag, and I'm crapping all over the business, to me, even after all these years, that has reflection onto him. Because that's my mentor, that's my teacher. He taught me, he gave me an opportunity 22 years ago to be a part of this business. And now once again, now it goes back to the ring and all that. It's my obligation and my duty and my job to teach the next generation, just like he gave me an opportunity 22 years ago. So it all comes full circle. In Al's case, he's got a wealth of knowledge. And the one thing about Al that a lot of people, once you get to know him, is Al's not the type of man to throw out compliments. He was a self-made man. He traveled the road, he did all that, and even after 22 years, when I had a conversation with him 2 years ago, was the very first time in 22 years that he ever thanked me for keeping wrestling alive in Lima, Ohio, in his hometown, and that meant the world to me because he gave me that opportunity, and I'm still going to continue that probably till the day that I'm out of professional wrestling. I'll use his teachings, and I've made a lot of mistakes over the years, and I want to pass that on to other people to not make those mistakes.
Wow. Well, that is incredible. Tremendous praise from one of the true greats inside of the business of professional wrestling. Again, we are joined by Thomas Big Time William of War Wrestling. Earlier this year, War Wrestling celebrates its 17th anniversary show. I got to say that when it comes to the overall, the presentation, the professionalism, that live event vibe, anyone would be hard pressed to find any promotion that can top War. Can you talk about the keys to success in cultivating this culture that you have, and in so many ways, how you've turned it into a viable business? You can
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing for me is I tell people this all the time. I'm the glue and/or the grease to the wheel, and what I mean by that is I got expectations, and I know what it is to put on a good show, and I've surrounded myself with a lot of good people over the years. My ring crew, my concessions, my security, all that. They're my friends and my family, and they know what it means, what the War Wrestling means to the community. So we give 110% all the time, or we just don't do it. And the reason, you said talk about it being a viable business. Another thing that we're very, very proud of, is me and my wife's proud of, is over the last 18 years with War Wrestling, we've actually donated back to the Lima area, my hometown, on over $400,000 to them.
Wow.
And that's 100% strictly through wrestling. We donate tickets to the local MRDD and the kids with developmental disabilities and all that. We've bought a semi truckload of food for the Veterans Food Pantry. We've done all those sort of things. We did bowling with fans, and basically just bowling just like on a Friday, Saturday night. And we had some of the wrestlers there, some of the staff there. The fans paid money to bowl with us, and we gave the Veteran Food Pantry all that money. We gave them like $1,200 cash money, and they said that's going to basically buy a semi truckload worth of food, and that's strictly because War Wrestling in this area is a brand. They know if our name's attached to something, we're going to give it 110%. Where we run at now, the building we run in, it's a community center. There's needs. People got needs, for the community. At Christmas time, we got a collection together, and we bought dental hygiene products and stuff for the elderly, and we gave it to them for Christmas through the community center. We've bought turkeys and all that stuff for the veterans or whatever. Around Christmas time, where they have a big huge community dinner that's for the people, and they know that, if my name's attached to it, I'm going to make it happen. And, that's what we do. We go out, we do what needs to be done. I got, a lot of friends and family that help us. And, it's all about giving back to the community now and that I live in. A lot of people don't realize, as far as in the city of Lima, I believe, and don't quote, I'm going to say it's pretty close to what I'm getting ready to say, but like 85% of the kids that go to the schools are considered poverty level. So I know what it's like to be, to be hungry. I know what it's like to grow up poor, and those sort of things. And I just, I'm not a Husky Energy or a BP or something like that where I can just cut you, a $30,000 check and it's a tax write-off. I'm in the trenches every day, trying to help people, trying to make sure, that, they got food, and stuff like that. Like when this, crisis hit, we got a family or whatever that came over to the house and we cooked dinner for him. And the one gentleman is 98 years old and he thanked us for having dinner for him, and I'm sitting there thinking, look at the stuff that he's seen. He's seen the Great Depression. He's seen all those sort of things or whatever. And, we're blessed that we can do that through war wrestling. That's just what I tell people all the time. War wrestling to me is just my way of giving back to the local community.
Almost certainly war wrestling in respect with a huge emphasis on the respect part to be entwined with the community there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the biggest thing I tell everybody, in my eyes, I tell people this, professional wrestling is the bastard child of Satan, and the reason why I say that is because it's got a stigma on it. It's had a stigma on it for many, many years. It's, we're a bunch of misfits. We're a bunch of, it's the worst of the worst and all of that. And I want to be, that person, that promotion who tries to give back. And I'll be totally honest with you. There's a lot of guys in this business that don't like me, don't like my methods. They don't like that I'm outspoken about things, because, professional wrestling as a whole, it's always had a, what happens behind the doors stays behind the doors. And, you turn a blind eye to the BS. And I'm the type of person that says, I'm just going to tell you like it is, because guess what? If you're a douchebag and, that sort of thing, I'm going to call you out on it because that has a reflection on me and what I've gave 22 years of my life doing. You know what I mean? That's the thing. I'm 47 years old now. I don't know how many more years I got left, but I want to leave it better than what it was when I started. And unfortunately, it's not that way right now. There's a lot of things going on, in the business, especially on the independent scene, that, it's just, I'm not a fan of it. You know what I mean? I'm not even talking about the in-ring stuff. I'm just talking about the behind-the-scenes stuff, the attitudes of the guys, the attitudes that they have towards the fans, and all that sort of thing. So, it is what it is. Like I said, I just do my part. I try to stay in my own lane, and I try to do what I think is best, and I try to help people along the way. Like you mentioned Denim. I talk to Denim about things, and if he needs something, I try to help him out because guess what? The good, the bad, and the ugly of professional wrestling is all grouped together. So, if he has a bad show, that has a reflection on us, and that sort of thing. Because at the end of the day, we just want to, we're all in this together. So if, that promotion is drawing 40 fans and we're drawing 400, well, what can I do to get him to draw 400 fans too? So that's what a lot of people don't understand. They don't realize, like you said, I'm a wealth of knowledge. And unfortunately, the way things go in professional wrestling is you get a lot of people, what I call ass kissers and blow smoke up the guys' butts and tell them what they want to hear. And I'm the total opposite of that. I'm going to tell you exactly the way that it is. And you can form your own opinion if you believe me or not. I just, I tell people this all the time as far as me. I lost my house and everything over professional wrestling. Because I believed somebody, many, many moons ago that, they promised me the world and I stuck my neck out, then boom, it was all gone in a blink of an eye. And, I lost my house. I've lost, pretty much everything that I could possibly lose from professional wrestling. The one constant was my wife, so she's been through it all. And, I made a vow to her, hit a bad spot. I made a vow to her, quite a few years ago, that we would do wrestling the right way. And like I said, I know I'm not everybody's cup of tea because I am very, very outspoken. And I tell people all the time, I'm not one of the boys. I'm not a wrestler. I don't have that mentality. I don't, I just don't. I don't have the mentality of a wrestler or somebody in professional wrestling. I'm directly involved in it, yes. but I don't have that same mentality. You know what I mean? Like my family and my friends are number one. You know, I know, like we talked about earlier, you know, before we started recording that, you know, a lot of these guys are in survival mode. And like me, it's like, you know, I'm living my life. I'm still doing what needs to be done. I'm taking care of my family. I'm taking care of my friends. And if wrestling is there, you know, 6 months from now, then cool. I'll be back there to help. You know, that's the big thing that hurts me and my wife right now is, you know, by us not doing the shows, you know, we can't give back to the community the way that we want to give back to the community, you know, because that's what we use, you know, like, you know, when they have the food drives and they do all those sort of things and the free, you know, free stuff, whatever, none of them were right there. And unfortunately, you know, we don't have that right now with not doing the shows. So that's the big thing for me is just get back to the normal of doing the shows because I know it's going to help wrestling or help the community as a whole down the road.
I think it's a tremendous perspective. And I think across the board, it'd be a much more better industry, especially on that independent level. People had the outlook and saw professional wrestling the way that you do. Let's talk about, you know, it comes up in about every conversation that anybody throughout society is having today. And that's the COVID mania running wild, brother. And it's had a major impact everywhere, every walk of life. And that, you know, that really holds true through independent wrestling. So much certainty going forward. Obviously, with 2 years plus years experience in the business, 2 years, you know, promoting, running events, you've been able to adapt before. You've seen adversity, overcome that. How are you and War approaching this immediate future and potential long-term changes inside of wrestling?
Well, you know, to be honest, it's a day by day thing, and the reason why I say that is to me, and I know I'll get heat for saying this, but to me, wrestling needs to be on the back burner. You know, and I say that from this aspect. You know, just here in Ohio, okay, and I'll throw out some statistics and all that. My sister-in-law works for the Bureau of Unemployment, okay, and she's working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day and they've had almost 800,000 claims just here in Ohio in the last 4 weeks. And to kind of put that in perspective is that's more claims that they've had in all of 2018 and 2019 combined. So, you know, to me, this is a bigger thing than independent wrestling. You know, I mean, yeah, it's an outlet for a lot of us. It's our escape from day-to-day life, you know, and this and that. But to be totally honest with you, it's a day by day thing. I mean, you know, and you know, in our case, you know, I'll be honest. In our case, you know, we got the state, you know, that we got to worry about, and also like where our building is, you know, it's a community center, and you know, 85% of their clientele are senior citizens. Well, guess what? The number one age range for the COVID-19 is senior citizens. So they're not even going to remotely even open up that building if there's a risk of something happening in that building. You know what I mean? So they don't even think about that. You know, I get guys, you know, they're like, oh, I can't wait to get back into wrestling. And, you know, I'm going to do an unsanctioned, you know, no fans match. And I'm going to do this, that, and the other. You know, they don't look at the bigger picture. The bigger picture thing is, you know, everyone's hurting right now. You know what I mean? That's the reason why I went to Columbus today. You know what I mean? My sister-in-law was a nurse. She just had a baby, you know, so they don't really have any income. Her boyfriend is laid off. So, you know, to me, it's a way, way bigger, scary scenario, you know, than what a lot of people don't get it. You know what I mean? Like I said, you know, just from the aspect of, like I said, the 800,000 claims for unemployment, you know, it's just way, way bigger than what any of us, you know, do I think there'll ever be a new norm or we'll get back to the way that it was? Absolutely not. You know, I think this whole thing is going to make people question about coming to the shows. I think it's going to make wrestlers question about hanging out with the fans and you know, shaking their hands and hugging them and taking pictures with them and all that. And that's all going to have an effect financially. It's all going to have an effect, you know, to the overall product. So I think a lot of guys just don't understand that. Like in our case, I'll be totally honest with you. You know, if we don't do a summer show, you know, plus our home venue shows, which would have been April and May, and our summer shows, as a company, we're out $25,000. You know, and that's just ring rentals, sold shows, fair shows, and that sort of thing. You know, and then the 2 shows we would have done in April and May. You know, so you know that's just from the company standpoint. You know, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know how many companies could come back from that. You know what I mean? Very, very few will be able to come back from a loss. you know, is majority of, or I'd say 90% of our product and our equipment and all that is bought and paid for. So we don't have to worry about that. And we also have a loyal fan base. And what I mean by that is when April rolled around, we had front row sold out. Well, April got canceled, but then we rolled over the tickets to May. Well, now May got canceled. So now we're rolling those tickets over to September, which is our next home venue show. Well, guess what? VIP's already sold out for first row and most of second row for a show that's happening in September. So, we got that little fan base or whatever that will be there to support us long haul. And I think a lot of the smaller independent promotions may not have that. And I think that, they'll go by the wayside. And then that also means there's less work and less money to be made by the wrestlers. So, it's going to have a huge effect all the way around from top to bottom.
Yeah, absolutely. And, as you mentioned in there, the importance of that connection with your fan base and kind of changing their expectations. You're not going to be able to be as cozy, if you will. But it still is important to let them know that you're there for them. If that release, when we do get back to professional wrestling, it's in so many ways as well. It's, it's a good bang for the buck night out for the family, as opposed going to, a major sporting event or a concert or even out to dinner anymore. I mean, you get all that at professional wrestling. That I regularly put over, it is the greatest form of entertainment because it reaches all genres. But there's going to have to be that adaptability, that curve, that evolution inside, especially independent wrestling. Is there any maybe positives that independent promoters, war wrestling, any of the talents out there that they should be looking forward to? We regularly just hear right now gloom and doom about everything.
Right.
What are the positives that we can look forward to?
Well, I think it's going to re-energize a lot of the wrestlers. They had time to heal up their bodies. They had time to in my case, or whatever, it has me time to appreciate, my family, and all of that. A lot of these guys, they're the type of person they're all or nothing. And what I mean by that is they're 100% in and committed to professional wrestling or whatever. And now that they don't have it, they're like, holy crap, now I'm looking for that next escape. And I think it's going to make a lot of the guys realize that it can be gone in a blink of an eye. So we need to appreciate our time here. We need to go above and beyond for the fans. We need to go above and beyond for the promoters, that put on the shows. And the flip side of that is promoters need to go above and beyond for the wrestlers. To me, you had mentioned, you reached out to some of my colleagues and some of the guys that, here's a small thing that I tell everybody that they just, seem to not grasp. How hard is it to spend $5 on a case of water, to have water in the back for the guys? We cater our food to the guys every single show. My wife or my buddies or whatever that own restaurants, they'll cater food for the guys. It just makes them appreciate, their hard work in the ring. And I think that translates over into, going forward is these guys, they're going to have to, go above and beyond. Like I said, they're going to have to go above and beyond for the fans. And they're going to have to let the fans know that they truly care about them. And what I mean by that is one of the big things that bugged me with when this all hit was, and it goes back to what I said about the survival mode, a lot of these guys were all like, man, please buy my merchandise, please buy, this $20 shirt or whatever, and this, that, and the other, because they're in survival mode. That's the little bit of extra money that they make, but what they failed to realize is the people that they're asking to buy that $20 shirt may not have a job. They may have 3 kids that they got to support, so you got to find that balance. You know what I mean? You can't keep, taking without giving back. And that's the big thing with me is, I want the guys to understand, and instead of, charging $20, oh, it went black. Instead of charging $20, instead of charging $20 for that shirt, give them a little bit of a price break, make them, $2-3. I don't know. I mean, I truly don't know the mentality of the guys. Like I tell everybody, and I've made this as a tagline on some of my posts before, asses in the seats, fans in the stands, and and those have all been tags that I've used over the years, is because my mentality is a little bit different, and a lot of guys don't look at it that way. A lot of guys look at it as they're separating a mark from their money. They're trying to soak them dry, and I'm not about that. So hopefully the guys we'll see a bigger picture to just appreciate the fans and not take them for granted. They're suffering just like all of us. You know, I mean, I got fans, you know, that are going to the, you know, soup kitchen to get food. And I got, you know, we got fans that, you know, haven't had no income for a month. We even got some of our staff that, you know, they work employed, and even a lot of people are going to have bills to catch up on once everything gets back to the new norm. So I think, you know, you're going to have to promote it. You're going to have to give them more bang for their buck for fans to come out. You know, like in our case, you know, we do tickets for front row reserved, $16 a ticket. You know, the average movie price is $12 here in the Lima area. So, you know, they get in an hour and a half early, you know, so they can get concessions. And, you know, that's another thing, you know, concessions. We keep everything affordable. You know, I mean, we sell our own concessions. I think the most expensive thing on our menu is $3.25. And that's like loaded nachos, you know, a big, huge thing of loaded nachos. You know, we keep everything affordable, you know, to where, like you said earlier, you know, the family can actually come to the show, eat their dinner, get a good night of entertainment for 4 people. It might cost them $75. Well, $75 to a lot of wrestling fans is that's maybe, you know, say 7 or 8 hours worth of their normal day-to-day life work-wise, hourly-wise, you know. So you got to look at it from that aspect. You know, you got to go above and beyond. You got to give them a show. You got to make the fans feel that they're important.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Big Tom, I want to thank you for your time here today. Can you share with our listeners where they can keep up with yourself and all things war wrestling?
Well, right now we got warwrestling.com, but we only do sell our tickets and stuff through that. We have a Facebook page. If you look up Thomas Williams, it'll have like a War Wrestling logo on there. That's kind of like the War page / you know, my page where I interact with fans or whatever. Then we also have a business page. If you look up War Ohio, you know, through Facebook, we have the Twitter. It's like the War Wrestling. Anything. If you type in War Wrestling, 99% of that will 99% of that will basically come through me, or it's war wrestling related or whatever. You know, like I said, I'm glad you guys reached out to me. If there's anything I can do in the future to help you guys, when you guys post it, definitely tag me and I'll share it through our business page and all of that. I think we got 8,000, I believe, people through our business page and that sort of thing. And we interact with them quite a bit on that. So, yeah, like I said, I appreciate your time and I appreciate you letting me open up and vent a little bit about us, our history, and, you know, the things that kind of make my mind tick. So.
Hey, well, again, thank you for being with us. And I forgot to throw this in there. I can't believe it was at the bottom of my notes here. War Wrestling was home to my all-time favorite independent wrestler, Stamp Lickich. All-time favorite over here.
I'll tell you what, Ian, I'll tell you a quick story about him. We did the postal gimmick too. Dexter Dementia and me were disgruntled Dexter Dementia and the postmaster. That was our gimmick when we first started wrestling 22 years ago. And we had heard through the grapevine that there was another wrestler that did the postal gimmick. And so we went down to an NWF show and met him. And I said, dude, hey, listen, you know, let's tag up. And at the time, we actually did the gimmick with another guy. We took over from him called Disgruntled Jason Vice. Mr. Vice was his name. So, yeah, I mean, Stamp is a good dude. I'm actually still friends with him to this day. And he's actually a superintendent of a school system. Stamp's a good dude, man. I love Stamp. You know, I always consider him family. You know, we was Delivery Inc. for 10 years or, you know, 10 years of our life, you know. So, John's a good dude.
Excellent.
Well, I might have got disconnected.
Well, we got a little bit of a break up there, so thank you again. Yep. But we'll be right back on the Hot Take WrestleCast after words from our friends over at Roasters Coffee.